Hello, hello, gorgeous human. Welcome back to the Unstoppable You podcast. I'm your host, Evie, life and confidence coach and business mentor. And I'm so excited that you're here, that you're back, that you're tuning in for today's podcast episode or watching over on YouTube. Hi, thanks so much for being here. It's so wonderful to be chatting with you. And I hope that you get lots of value from this podcast episode today. Now, first things first, it is probably at the time of this episode's release, the very end of the open cart period for the Strategy and Soul Mastermind for the October 2024 round. So if you would love to come join us, please send me a DM on Instagram, or I'll pop the link below in the show notes or in the description so you can go check it all out, book yourself a free call, reach out to me. I would love to talk to you about it and see if it feels like the right fit for you. And I'll genuinely tell you if it's the right fit or not. And yeah, I'm really excited. We have some gorgeous humans and business owners joining us. And gosh, every round is so special, so unique, but so special. And I really do feel like we attract in the best incredible humans. So if you want to come join us and be in this incredible space of heart-led, soul-led entrepreneurs, of small business owners, of coaches, of creators, of consultants, they're healers, they're in the health and well-being space, in the spirituality space, and the personal development space. And I'm just, so honored to journey with you and to support you. So let me know if that's for you. Now, today's podcast episode is around 3 strategies that I'm seeing that are working really well right now in online service-based businesses. So I thought it'd be really good to have a bit of a reflection and review of my launching this year, or the last 2 launches that I've done for Runway To 1K and now into the mastermind launch as well, and give you some of my reflections, some of my insights, some of the takes, and the things that I've learned from these launches that I think are working really well right now in this space, and also that are working really well for my clients. So this is going to be a really great episode for you if you're wanting to sell anything in your online service-based business. So most likely for you, if you've been a listener of the podcast. And yeah, there's going to be some things that I've personally done, and also that I share with my clients and teach with my clients, and what they're finding works really well right now. So top 3 strategies working really well right now to attract in more community, more sales, more customer, more clients, and ultimately more impact in sales and revenue income for you in your soul-led business. So let's dive into that today. Okay, so the first one, number 1, I've got them written down here so, I don't go off on too many tangents. Because if you know me, a girl can talk. Right, so the first one is playing the long game and warming people up to your offer or what it is that you do, what it is that you're selling ahead of time. Right? Like, I really believe that idea and concept that I've probably shared about and talked about here on the podcast before is that the success of a launch or any kind of open cart period is really dependent on the pre-launch. And if you are warming up your audiences and having a really good runway into that open cart period. And I see that time and time again. And I think that we can think about this idea, and I think I shared this earlier in the year I did a similar episode to this actually about maybe 6 months plus ago. And it was actually a really highly downloaded podcast episode. So I thought this is a really good one to do again. I thought actually it's time, now gone through 2 launches myself, and also, the online space changes and evolves quite quickly actually. And I'm finding that it's changing quite a lot recently. So I wanted to speak to this because I thought it would be a really good opportunity to reflect and share some new ideas and concepts with you. But anyway, one of the things that I shared then, I'm pretty sure it was this. Don't quote me on this one. I'll maybe we should tag that episode as well in the show notes for you to go check out if you haven't already done so. But I talked about this concept of year-long marketing. And I think this is similar to what I'm sharing here, is that we should be warming up and nurturing our community, nurturing our ideal clients, our potential clients and customers far beyond just when we're selling something or just when we have spaces available or just when we're launching something, that this process should really be a year-long thing. And so when I talk about a launch, really ultimately a lot of our groundwork and the success of that sales period is really down to what you do, many weeks, months before that. Now, this is not to say if you are newer in business or it's a brand new concept, a brand new program, you might not have had as much time to lead up to that program launch or to do a big, long pre-launch period. That's absolutely okay. And you definitely shouldn't delay. If you're really ready to launch this and you think that you've got some people there that are ready and warmed up to this, then go for it. Because with anything new, right, there is a little bit of uncertainty around how it's actually going to go. And actually what I find is that the more you launch something, the more you sell it, actually the easier it is, because one, you've already got so much of the content there ready to go, or, you've actually got the program or the guts of it completed or created or the resources done. And you've got that social proof, right? You've got testimonials, you've got feedback, you've got people who've gone through that program that can share their insights, or you can use, screenshots of conversations that you've had, or testimonials of any sort, right? And so, please know that you don't need to delay until that. Everyone's going to start somewhere, right? And so actually, if you're newer in business or in those earlier stages, or it's a brand new offer, brand new program, or different arm to your business that you're doing, don't feel like you need to wait until you've done this perfect runway to that program. In actual fact, most likely, we're going to find out so much of that information that's going to really support you with it now while you actually do it. Yeah. And that we can fine tune, we can review that, we can tweak and perfect that in time to come. And nothing rides on just one thing alone, or one sale or one launch period, right? Oftentimes you'll be creating these assets for your business for a wee while. Just wanted to share that, because I think that I don't want that to hold you back in any way. But what I'm really sharing here, and what I would love for you to take away, is thinking about that concept of, how can I start to play the long game in business? How can I start to think about adding value and growing community and building connections with people and sharing your authority and your expertise over many weeks, months, and ultimately that should really be, a year-long game and for the life of your business, really. But all of that is building, and we're layering on that. Yeah. And so that's why consistency is so important, right? I feel like there's so many concepts within this one point, but ultimately really playing the long game, and we're warming up your audience, warming up your ideal clients to come into this program or this offer or whatever it is that you're selling at some point in time. And I think this is also the other point that I was thinking about when I was thinking about this first point, was that this is why it's so important to start to plant seeds and start to talk about your offers and your ideas more. Now, there's a little bit of there's nuance to this, right? I don't think we should be talking about every single possible idea that we might have, because generally speaking, as entrepreneurs, as multi-passionate people, or creatives, oftentimes we will have lots of ideas that might just randomly land, or when you're having a shower, or you're in a meditation, or you're journaling, or whatever it might be, that ideas come through and you're like, oh, maybe that could be something, I should probably talk about that. Sometimes we don't necessarily need to be sharing every single thing online or with our audience, right? Because sometimes that can just be confusing, or some of these things we might never ever act on. But I think sometimes, and oftentimes, with the clients that I work with, and with you guys, with my community, with my people, more likely than not, you're probably one of those people that will sit on an idea for a really long time until you feel like it's quote unquote perfect in your mind before you take action, before you actually start to create it or put it out to the world. And let me give you an example of this. So before I became a coach, I wanted to be a coach, and I wanted to be a coach for a really long time beforehand, probably a couple of years before I actually signed up to do the training and the certification program that I did, and then go on to obviously become a coach and create my business from it. But for a really long time, I never told anyone. This was like a secret desire of mine and something that I really kept close to my chest. And there was quite a few different reasons for that, obviously, but the main one was that it was so important to me that I really wanted to do this. But there was fear around it, right? Like I wasn't 100% sure. I didn't really have all the answers. I didn't know much about business at that point in time. I didn't know any other humans in my current world, in my physical reality, that were successful coaches and had successful online businesses similar. And yeah, there was a lot of uncertainty. There was a lot of like, oh, and there was a lot of like fear about like, what are people going to think of me? Am I, they'll just think I'm just this like crazy woo-woo person, or like, what even is that? Or yeah, like just there were so many fears about what people would think of me, what they would say, how I would be perceived, and this work would be perceived, and if they would take me seriously in that. And I didn't want, but I think ultimately, and here's here's the real reason coming through now. I didn't want to share it out loud or say to anyone that I wanted to be a coach and become a coach and I was going to train, because I was scared that it wouldn't come true. I was scared that maybe I would change my mind, or maybe I would do it and it actually wasn't the right fit for me, or something would change along the way and it wouldn't actually come into fruition. And I was so nervous about what people would say and think of me. And it's like that perceived fear of failure, right? And essentially like changing your mind. I definitely had a complex belief system around that as well, way back in my early mid-20s. And so, yeah, I think it was one of those, it was a great example of me just wanting to keep that really close to my heart and not share that. And I think that it's important to share that with the right kind of people, and maybe not with everyone in your life, in your world. And I think it is a really nice thing to make sure you're really discerning about, who it is that you choose to share that with, and is it going to be in a really safe place for you, and that you're not going to be swayed too much by what other people would think or say of you, right? So there's that kind of conversation, that part of it, which is important to acknowledge. However, there came a time when I knew no matter what anyone would say, no matter like what would happen, I knew that this intuitive nudge was not leaving me, and I really needed to do this. I really needed to train. I really needed to become a coach, and it was on my heart. And yeah, I was so set on that. And so there came a time when I needed to start to talk about this more, so that it would become more of my reality, so that I would be able to start taking action towards it. And that was a big part of it, was having more of these conversations, starting to talk about it, play with the idea. And so that is a really important thing to remember, is that sometimes we need to take action. Sometimes we need to share those ideas before we fully know all of the answers, but it gives you an idea. And especially when we talk about a business, right? There's an example from a recent client who is going to be selling and launching a in-person workshop, and she wanted to plant some seeds and share the idea about this to gauge, is this something that people would want? Like, what's the interest? It gives her feedback. It gives her that confirmation to go ahead. And sometimes it's not that we always need that, but it's actually really helpful in business to start planting those seeds, start warming people up to the idea, start nurturing them, start talking about it more. And so this is what I really want you to think about, is playing the long game and layering all these things on. So have those conversations, or share the ideas, or start warming people up far beyond when the open cart period is, or when you've got the spots available, or whatever it might be. And so really thinking about marketing as a year-long marketing plan, as I mentioned earlier in the year, I think that's really, really relevant and important. And thinking about business as a long-term, it's playing the long game in business, and really nurturing those people beyond just when you're selling something or when you're just in a launch. All right, so that's number one. That was a really long-winded number one. Number two, authenticity. Of course, authenticity, absolutely. Your authenticity is never not going to be trending. Remember, it's never not going to be trending. And I think with the rise of AI, it's so important to come back to authenticity. What's your uniqueness? What's your thought leadership? What's something that you can create and share and teach or coach on that, that AI can't do? Yeah. Or, what's your uniqueness in this? So for example, we all know that, AI is getting very, very clever and crazy. It can be starting to write content for us. Yeah. Some people might be doing this in their businesses. Definitely not me. Definitely not something that I advise. However, you can use it to your advantage to some extent. That's another whole conversation. However, what it won't be able to do is sharing your insights or sharing your reflections on something or sharing real life examples or sharing stories and lived experiences. All of that kind of thing can never be replicated by anyone else, and certainly not by AI. And that's the stuff that stands you aside from every single person, every other business owner, or every other coach, or every other naturopath, or every other PT or artist, whatever, right? And so that is the stuff that you really need to go big on and be bold and be unapologetic in. So use that in your messaging, use that in your content, use that in your website, use that in your podcast, use that in your branding and your visual representation online. Like, use that in everything that you do as much as you possibly can, because that's the stuff that is really, people really want that stuff. Yeah. And it's even more important right now. It's definitely the stuff that people really want and need. If I go back, as I just mentioned, these strategies that are working really well right now is adding nuance, is adding depth, is adding real life lived experience from myself, from my reflections from my launches. It's also from working with clients in these spaces and different businesses and seeing those insights and those reflections and what's happening. And it's these kind of podcast episodes that do better. It's the ones where there's a personalization to it, or there's there's those reflections or insights, or there's real life examples or stories or guest podcast interviews where people are sharing this kind of stuff. It's less about like the, 5-step plan to do XYZ, right? It's when you add your authenticity. It's when you add reflections and insights and nuance and all of that stuff, your thought leadership, because we don't need any more generic stuff. We don't need any more like how-to stuff. Of course, we can share that, but making sure we share that in a way that's really authentic and aligned to you, and it's going to hit home for your ideal clients. Yeah. So that's number 2, authenticity all the way. It's never not going to be trending. Now, number 3 is all about relationships. It's all about relationships and connections. Now, I really believe that relationships and connections in business is everything. Like business is really about people. And if you know people, then you know business. If you can relate to other people, if you can connect and have those conversations, that's what selling is. That's what marketing is. And that's what business is ultimately. It's serving other people. It's connecting other people, either bringing groups of people together, perhaps in person or online, or it's speaking one-to-one to people and supporting them in the way that you do. And like business is really all about people. I share this many a times before, but if you know people, then you know business. And this is why I think a lot of us have the ability to be exceptional business owners and really good at marketing and sales, because we know people. If you're good with people, then you're good with sales. I was thinking about this the other day, actually. Maybe I should add this in here. Maybe this is like the 4th bonus point. I was thinking about selling, and I was thinking about like, if selling is really about people, right? It's really about supporting people. And so if you know how to serve and support other people, then you're naturally going to be really good at sales. And I think this is where we just need to build these skills, right? And layer on layer on the sales skills and the soulful sales skills, I believe. But ultimately, like, being a really good salesperson, I believe, if it's done the right way, it's really about being a good human. Like, if you have something, it sounds really simple, but if you have something that your ideal client or the person that you're talking to or your community needs and wants, and you know that it can fix the problem or help them solve the problem that they have, that they feel really challenged by right now, then it's your obligation, it's your duty, I believe, to share that with them. And now it's never about pushing or like, hey, that you must do this, because that's icky, sleazy, doesn't work anyway. No one wants to do that. but you need to offer it to them in a really empowered, authentic way. And if you're deeply talking to their challenges, their pain points, where they're at, and how you can support them with your offer and your service, then that's just being a really good human, is helping them, right? And so that's where, and then I think just the conversation around money in sales just sometimes can complicate it for some people. And that's, I think, where sometimes the ickiness comes from. And that is purely, that's belief systems work that we need to do together in coaching. So yeah, if that's you, jump into my DMs or send me a comment or send me a comment below, because I think we just need to have then a conversation around your belief systems around money and receiving and empowering people to make the right decision for them, because that's ultimately what sales is. So coming back to this idea around business is really about relationships and connections and people. What I would really love to remind you here and encourage you to do more so, and what I've seen in my launches and in clients, is have more conversations. Reach out to more people, talk about it more. It'll almost be feeling like you're talking about a little bit too much. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. That's where we want to be. So yeah, reaching out to more people, having more of those conversations, building more of those relationships and connections could lead to collaborations, could lead to clients, could lead to more growth and knowledge for yourself. And it's enjoyable, right? It's a part of why we do business, yeah, and why you do what you do. So I believe that, yeah, that's really crucial. So thinking about, if we just do a bit of an overview, a bit of a summary of those three things working really well right now, is one, playing the long game in business, really thinking about year-long marketing strategy, nurturing people and adding value, fostering those relationships in your community for the long haul, for a long time. And this is why it's so crucial to start talking about your ideas and your offers to come now. Start planting seeds, start nurturing it, start dropping those hints, start fostering that. Maybe it's waitlist and all those sorts of things that might be supportive for you. Or like polls on Instagram, just conversations with more people about it. The second one is always authenticity. Always. I think that's always going to be trending. It's never not going to be trending. And it is really the secret sauce. It's your unique selling proposition. It's the thing that sets you aside from everyone else. And it's something that we need more of, even more of, especially with technology advances and AI coming through even more. Really sharing your thought leadership, your energy, your vibe, your human experiences and lived stories. And that's a really great way to start communicating, to market, to start creating your offers from. Everything. Make sure it's authentic to you. Go big on that this year. Okay, and then the third one is all about relationships. It's about building those connections. It's about having more conversations. And that is so important. And if you know people, then you're really good at business. And really, yeah, it means that you're really good at sales as well. If you're a coach and you can hold space for someone and empower them to make the best decision for them, then that's ultimately like what I believe to be really good soulful selling. So nail those three things, people. That's what I'm seeing working really well right now for my own launch, for actually both of my launches of recent in the last couple of months, at the last 6 months. And it's also the things that I'm noticing work really well for my clients. And so, yeah, would love to offer these. I hope that's so helpful for you to start taking some of these ideas and concepts. Maybe they're reminders. Maybe this is like okay, Evie, I hear you. Thank you for the nudge. I needed that reminder to get back to this. Or really thinking about how can I build more of these things into my business as I'm launching, as I'm building, as I'm growing, as I'm launching something new, as I'm up leveling. All of these things are going to really support you no matter what your business model is, no matter what your industry is, or the exact offer that it is that you're working on or selling, or how you help your people. These I think are core principles and foundations of what's working really well right now that you can apply to you and your business. So I hope that's so helpful. Last reminder, Open cart ends really soon for the Strategy Soul Mastermind round coming up. We start the very end of October 2024, at the time of recording this. We are in the final stages, so come join us. Don't sit on the fence. Now is the time. If you are ready to go big on your soul's work, for the rest of this year and into 2025, then this is your time. And remember, the work that you do now is going to pay off in dividends in time to come. And what I know to be true is that having support, having coaching support, someone who sees you and, really holds you accountable to the things that you're really wanting to, lovingly challenges you, sees your blind spots, sees those limiting beliefs, those negative limiting beliefs that often hold us back, and supports you with the strategy to go big this year and beyond. My goodness, a winning combo. Alrighty, my loves, that is it from me today, but thank you so much for being here and watching and listening through. I love you. Remember, all the juicy, great conversations happen after the episode, so come send me a DM if that's you. I would love to chat with you about it. All right, my loves, have the best day.